Hello friends, and welcome to Picture Astrology Snap video series. In this quick video we will learn about the placement of Saturn in the sign of Libra for Aries Ascendant horoscope. So when Aries, the very first sign of the zodiac, rises in the horoscope, seventh sign or the sign of Libra falls in the 7th house. So this video is also about Saturn in 7th house for Libra rise or for Aries rising horoscope. One more thing, when Saturn is placed in the sign of Libra, Saturn is known to be in its exaltation sign. And there are many myths associated with exalted Saturn. And in next few minutes we will try to see some of the most practical and real life experiences of this Saturn in the sign of Libra. So when Aries is the ascendant sign, Saturn becomes the lord of 10th house and 11th house of the horoscope. And that is because 10th house contains the sign of Capricorn and 11th house contains the Aquarius sign, and both of these signs are owned by Saturn. So Saturn will have direct effect on 7th house because Saturn is placed here, on 10th and 11th house because Saturn owns both of these houses. And in Vedic astrology, every planet is given some special aspects. So Saturn aspects 3rd house from itself, which will be 9th house in this case. Saturn aspects 7th house from itself, which will be the all important 1st house here. And 1st house, as you know, is known as ascendant. It is the most important reference point for analysis of any horoscope. And any influence on this point actually affects a person's whole life. So the significance of Saturn here increases multiple times. Now Saturn also aspects 10th house from its position, which in this case will be the 4th house. So you see, just by this one placement of Saturn, many things can be interpreted for so many areas of a person's life. And if we do any detailed analysis, it can actually take up to hours. So in this quick video, we will talk about top 5 practical and visibly observed things which have been or which you can observe in real life because of the placement of Saturn here. So as soon as somebody sees Saturn in the 7th house, the first thing which comes into the mind is marriage. And there are so much stigma associated with Saturn. So let me begin by saying that Saturn exalted in the 7th house is not bad at all for marriage. In fact, it gives much needed stability when it comes to marriage. Now, this Saturn is especially important because the lord of ascendant is Mars, and Mars, especially the Aries sign, is known to be very rash, known to be very quick, known to not think about things. So having Saturn, especially in the house of marriage, which is one of the area where stability is preferred. So in reality, Saturn here is actually very good for the long life of the marriage. Now obviously Saturn should not be afflicted for sure. So this Saturn generally gives a stable marriage when unafflicted, but there is always some possibility of delay in getting the formal marriage. And that is because Saturn is the slowest planet of the Vedic astrology. And not just delay, because the ascendant lord, which signifies you in the horoscope, I have made a video about how to find real you in a chart, and ascendant is the point which signifies your mental and physical personality. So Mars is the ascendant lord, and Mars and Saturn do not go along well. They are actually considered enemies of each other. So apart from delay, you would see some visible differences between the married partners. And most common of the difference is age difference. One spouse could be much younger or much older than the other. It is very common with a placement of Saturn in the exalted position here. Another thing could be the height. The height of one partner and the other could be very different. Sometimes even the taste, their choices is also different. So there would be at least something which would be visibly very different between the partners, but still the Saturn here is not bad for stability of the marriage. Now let's quickly talk about the effect of Saturn's aspect on the first house, on the ascendant. And first house shows your personality. And exalted Saturn, when aspecting the first house, see, exalted Saturn is always associated with a lot of discipline. Saturn loves discipline, especially the exalted one. But again, Mars and Saturn are enemies. So what happens is, this Saturn gives a very peculiar characteristic to the person, in which the native would sometimes seem to be very disciplined, very hardworking, taking care of every task given to him very diligently. But at other times, the Saturnian quality of laziness can also show. Sometimes they would behave, like procrastinating everything, not wanting to do something, and so on. And this transition, that sudden transition which happens between a lazy boy or a couch potato sometimes into someone who is, really up to the task, really raring to go and disciplined about everything he's trying to do, that can surprise many people. I've seen that kind of reaction or surprised look whenever I say this to any of my client when this Saturn exalted sits in the 7th house, but this is very common. And if you have a kid with this placement, remember, even if they are behaving lazy, all you need is some encouragement, a little knuckle on the or rap on the knuckles, and they would shed their laziness and can turn into a workhorse, almost a workhorse, very easily. And that transition, the swiftness of that transition can even surprise you. Now let's talk about some physical issues which this placement can cause. So 7th house shows your back, or more specifically your spine. So again, when this strong Saturn sits here, and being Lord of 11th house, there is some malefic qualities associated with this Saturn, and Saturn is naturally malefic also, and on top of it, it is the enemy of the ascendant sign, and ascendant is what defines you physically as well. So spine problems are very common because of this Saturn. And if there is any affliction, there is a big tendency of humping. People who tend to stoop low, they have this common placement. And one of the best remedies, if you have this placement, which you can do from the early stages of your life, is keep your back straight. Don't stoop, don't slouch. And trust me, if you do this one simple thing, you will be able to avoid many big problems or complications later in your life, especially related to your spinal cords. And another thing about the health is, if this Saturn is afflicted by, say, Mars, then there is a chance of having kidney stone in the body. This is also very common. So drink a lot of water, keep your back straight. These are two perfect remedies for a placement of Saturn like this. Now, as I said in the beginning, there are so many things, umpteen number of things. We can do a couple of hour analysis of just this placement of Saturn. However, because of this quick snap video, I will stop here, and I hope you liked my quick analysis of placement of Saturn in 7th house for Aries Ascendant. Please do like and subscribe to my channel to continue to receive more updates like this. I really thank you for being with me so far and hope to see you again soon. Bye bye.